Hey, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. It is 1999, and you just purchased the film rights to Spider-Man. What a great power you now possess. So you hire a filmmaker who has been thinking outside the box since he was 20 to bring this character to life in a way that nobody has ever seen before. He crushes it. Your film is a smash hit, literally changing the way the audience sees Spider-Man, sees superhero movies, sees the entire Marvel universe. You have just changed the course of big budget filmmaking, of pop culture, and, in a way, changed the course of history. Congrats, man. You make 2 sequels with that character. Those sequels earn you billions of dollars. Time to make a 4th. But wait. You can't understand the creative differences, the schedule, the time needed, the needs of that filmmaker, that unique voice that sung you $3 billion songs. He thought he let the world down with the 3rd movie, and he thought it was his responsibility to redeem himself, redeem the character. But you want him to rush forward. You can't wait. You'll lose the rights. So you cancel the project, killing the dream. You start fresh with a new voice, a voice that has the potential to sing just as loud as the first. You micromanage, you're scared, people don't respond as well, as strongly, as lovingly. You micromanage some more, you're terrified, you're on the verge of losing money, losing the talent that you have bestowed the great power onto. You are at a loss. You send an email to the first filmmaker. That email goes something like this.
I really need your help with you-know-who. I've made a mess of it. I know you don't want to do it, but I trust you more than anyone, and at the very least need your help with figuring out what to do.
He responds,
Me, you are very almost my oldest friend, and maybe it is I who have made a mess of things. How can I help? Tell me, and I will do anything. I am in your corner. Peter Parker is a good guy
and deserves to be rescued. It is now 2014. Soon you'll make a deal with the biggest movie studio, the biggest machine on Earth. Soon you'll lend that beloved icon, loan him, send him away so that he can swing once more. You are Sony. You own Spider-Man. You've shipped him off to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now you want to build your own Spider-Man universe. You've wanted that for almost a decade, but you seemingly have no idea how. But before we web zip on into it, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Z-Biotics. Engineered by PhD scientists, Z-Biotics is a probiotic drink that breaks down the byproduct of alcohol, which is responsible for those rough, treacherous, and just plain awful mornings after drinking. When you drink, a toxic byproduct of alcohol builds up in your unprepared gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that causes you to feel terrible the day after drinking. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme like the one your liver uses to break down this byproduct. This is real science that works. No random plant extracts, no off-the-shelf ingredients. If you're the kind of person who enjoys drinks with friends, wants to unwind at the end of the day, and not dread the morning after, then Z-Biotics is perfect for you. One Z-Biotics before you start drinking is all you need to enjoy your night and still look forward to tomorrow. But please don't be that guy. I've been that guy, and it's not fun. Drink responsibly, pace yourself, and get a good night's sleep. The next day you'll feel refreshed and ready to make the most of it. And best of all, Z-Biotics offers a 100% money-back guarantee if you're not completely satisfied. Order Z-Biotics by clicking the link in the description box or heading on over to zbiotics.com/HiTop. Use my code HiTop for 15% off your first order. Thanks, guys. Now, just like last time, before I tell you what my massively unqualified ass would do to save Sony's Spider-Man Universe, I want to know what you would do. I know that the Spider-Man fan base is full of dudes like me who enjoy spewing spicy, passionate opinions. Let me know what you would like to see in the comments, other than Morbius 2. Seriously. Speaking of Morbius, step 1, stop making every film a superhero film. Why on God's Green Goblin was Morbius a superhero movie? Like, out of all the genres, subgenres that character could be molded to fit, horror, body horror, thriller, goofy B-movie, they decided to make Morbius a generic superhero origin movie that feels like it should have come out in 2003. The inspiration for a movie starring the living vampire should not have been Batman Begins. When you're adapting Spider-Man's world, not every character needs to follow in his footsteps. We've seen that done to death with actual superheroes. We don't need to see it be done with their villains. I am Venom. The first Venom was plagued by this problem, but got by on Tom Hardy's acute awareness of exactly the type of movie Sony wanted to make. The madman knew how to elevate a cookie-cutter story by chewing the lobster with such absurd cartoonishness that we almost believed that the Eminem song, that big gray muck fighting big black muck, was all intentionally ridiculous. Venom 2 leaned into this. Andy Serkis dared to try something new, to try within Sony's standard sloppy superhero story to create a romantic comedy between Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy. That's why it's my favorite so far from the Sony Spider-Man universe, because it tried to break free from the standardized boardroom talking points about what audiences want. It tried to work outside the mandates set by 74-year-old men about what is required when you make a comic book movie. Point is, Morbius could have been so cool. They could have spent way less money and probably earned way more if they just made a fucking vampire movie. If they just let the storytellers create something spooky, scary, unsettling. Instead, we got an edited down, studio-driven living meme that everyone laughed at, while the creatives behind it had to watch. How many comic book movies are there where the hero and villain both grow into their powers at the same time, resulting in a showdown, the battle of ideologies, heroic humanitarian versus selfish power seeker? How many comic book based horror movies are there? Not nearly enough. I'm sure Kraven will suffer from this too, the Sony superhero flu. One of Spider-Man's most fascinating villains, Kraven the Hunter, will be saving the world from its standardized evil. You want these films to be franchises? You want these characters to become more? Make the movies as different, as exciting, and as fresh as you possibly can. Black Cat could be a heist thriller. The Sinister Six could be a gangster movie. Any of these villain tales could be a chance to do a deep dive, a character study that questions their morality. They could take a chance and be insanely stylish, smaller scale, and unique, giving us a break from the Marvel cinematic formula. They don't need to all be superhero movies. You want these films to stand on their own without Spider-Man? Then let them be all their own. Step 2. Let the MCU do its thing. Why was Michael Keaton's Vulture in Morbius?
Hope the food's better in this joint.
They grabbed the Keatmeister, paid him to shoot a few scenes, and then reshot, edited out, and condensed it all. What was the point of having him there in the first place? Isn't the entire purpose of this multiverse, Sony's cinematic Spider-Verse, to allow different actors, different storytellers, different universes to have unique, differing takes on beloved heroes and villains? To not be beholden to the main Marvel Cinematic Universe that Tom Holland is currently swinging through? Why is his Vulture, John Watts' Vulture, being sent to this universe? What universe is Morbius even in? Who is the Adrian Toomes there? If they are trying to do a Sinister Six again, why not cast someone new or use a different character, something? Why is Tom Hardy sucked into the MCU for less than 5 minutes just to drop off a piece of the symbiote? Shouldn't Holland's Peter have his own journey fighting his way through the alien substance abuse? Why can't that be a personal, self-contained story that doesn't span universes? Let Feige's Peter face his own villains, tell his own stories set in the MCU. No Way Home ended where every great Spider-Man story tends to start. Peter suffering the massive weight of being Spider-Man, swinging on his own. Don't drag him, his problems, his allies, his enemies, his world into a separate Spider-Verse. Which reminds me, step 3. Yeah, maybe have a Spider-Man. Why was there a Venom movie without Spider-Man? Why is there a Craven movie that most likely won't have Spider-Man? Why is there a Madam Web movie that most likely won't have Spider-Man? I'm not asking for him to be the central character. I don't think he should. I'm asking, why is there not a mention, not a word, nor a whisper of the webhead? Why is Sony Spider-Man Universe Spider-Man-less? Why when we've seen it? Why when it happened? You were there, I was there. The moment we all dreamed about, fantasized about, 3 different Spider-Men stood together, swung together. Andrew was back, Toby was back. For a second, all of our problems seemed less important. For a brief moment, the world collectively smiled with such an innocent glee. And, as Hollywood does, they are going to want to capitalize off that smile. I've been saying for years, pay him whatever he wants, let him have script approval, and make Andrew Garfield Sony's Peter Parker. Captain Midnight just did an entire video on this, and the captain is correct. Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield's Peter seems to be the fan favorite of No Way Home, but he's always been the Spider-Man with the most potential, if you ask me. Andrew clearly adores the character. He might be one of the greatest actors of the generation, and his take on Peter is by far the most tonally in sync with what Sony is trying to do. His Peter Parker had a lot of unresolved pain, but a sense of newfound peace when we last saw him. He's older, but still learning how to grow up. How to live and love, how to lose, and how to stand back up to do it all over again. There are so many interesting and mature routes you could go with him. We only saw a handful of his villains, a small glimpse into his universe. Now is the time. He is the Spider-Man to do something crazy different with. Andrew does not, by any means, need to be in every movie, every one. Only the ones where Peter's presence, his perseverance, is needed the most. And Peter, Sony's Peter Parker, I think he should eventually pass the torch. If Tom Holland is going to be Peter Parker for a long time, maybe it's time Miles Morales was Spider-Man. Do I want to see Miles in the MCU? No, because Tom's Peter is still very young and still has years of stories left to tell. Do I want to see him in the Raimi-verse? That would be pretty cool, man, but I doubt if Sam and Toby even wanted to go for one final swing, that Miles would be the direction they went in. I'm sure the mystical Spider-Man 4 would be a very personal, self-contained tale for Sam, Toby, and Kirsten. But I do want to see him in this Sony-verse. I do want to see Andrew Garfield be a mentor, an older brother to his Miles. Andrew's Peter has always been that brother, that friend, that aspirational caretaker looking out for the little guy. His Peter is the hand on the shoulder of the young child, the young fan in the audience telling us that it's going to be okay. I want to see an entire film showcasing that. Could be Amazing Spider-Man 3, could be a movie called Spider-Man, whatever they call it, I would love to see it. Spider-Verse, Insomniac's Spider-Man have made Miles mainstream. The possibilities are endless. You can adapt him in any number of ways, making him completely distinct. You can have his Spider-Man operate outside the MCU. As you all know very well by now, I long for the days where we got a Spider-Man movie without Doctor Strange, without Tony Stark, without Nick Fury, without the weight of Infinity War's civil disputes and Feige's 29 films cutting his web short. You could have a series of Spider-Man films that examine this new web-slinger, allowing the audience to grow with Miles. It's gonna be hard to top the empathy, the excitement, and the passion for Miles that Into the Spider-Verse gave the audience. films, but it's a challenge I'd love to see a filmmaker try to tackle. Sam Raimi deciphered, translated, invented the live-action visual language of Peter Parker. Him and his team showed us what Peter's wall crawling looks like, what Peter's swinging looks like, showed us what Peter's spider sense looks like, showed us what Peter's Spider-Man feels like in the real world. It's time for someone to come along and do it again, do it new, make it their own, make it Miles. The people want Miles. Sony wants a Spider-Verse, and you can't have that with just Peter. You need to have others be able to don the mantle, put on the mask. We've had 3 different live-action Peter Parkers in my lifetime. I want the next generation to have a different face to swing with, to look up towards, to aspire to be. They deserve someone new to show them that.
With great power comes great responsibility.
This video was a little complicated to make, man. The idea, the concept of crafting, of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on Dr. Michael Morbius, on Madam Web, on Kraven the Hunter, on El Muerto is absurd. You have a large group of Disney stans and Spider-Man fans laughing at the mere thought of these films, but that does not mean they should stop trying. If anything, they should try even harder, push themselves to do something new. Stop trying to be the MCU. The MCU isn't a trend to follow. Hire storytellers who won't treat these characters as a trend, who will treat them with care. Work with instead of dictating unique voices behind the camera. Make bold choices in front of it. Sony was on top of the world. They allowed Sam Raimi to set the gold standard for superhero movies. There is no MCU without his Spider-Man. No Way Home's success is in large part owed to what they did long before, long ago, on their own. It's shocking that the only option they felt they had after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was to give up, throw in the towel, and start again. It's sad that they felt Spider-Man had to join a different universe in order to make people care about Peter and his Spider-Verse. The possibilities of that Spider-Verse are endless. Raimi, Webb, Watts, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man Noir, 2099, Mayday, Miles. Distinct universes, distinct genres, distinct styles, distinct directors, distinct films. You never needed Iron Man to save your franchise. You have Spider-Man. You have had Spider-Man, the greatest of them all. Sony has possessed that great power, his great power, for so long. Maybe it's about time they start honoring their responsibility. Yo, thank you guys for watching, and thanks to Loverboy Media for editing this video. Make sure to check out the teaser trailer for our Jason Todd fan film, and make sure you have a nice day.